Okay, our final team today is Wandr Yondr, Hugh Bullen, Gizem Kilic, and Mardochee Reveil.
Hi, I'm Hugh Bullen. I'm a co-founder of Wandr Yondr. So I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from the island of Grenada. The last time I was home, one of my friends was like, hey, let's go to a waterfall. I'd never been, so I was all in. So the next day we packed up and we drove to a mile south of the waterfall. And we were waiting for other friends to arrive. And then these two tour buses pulled up, filled with cruise passengers. They shuffled them off, and they're like, hey, this is the waterfall. This is what the tourists actually saw. They saw it downstream of the river. I could see the disappointment in many of their faces, and I heard them say, is this it? Then they left, and my friends arrived. So we hiked through a rainforest like 1 mile upstream, and this is what I saw. I saw one of the most amazing waterfalls. I couldn't believe these tourists missed out on it. So we were hiking back down from the waterfall, and one of my friends said, you know what, I wish I could do this all the time, lead these tours and get paid to do it. And that's where the idea for Wandr Yondr came from. Like these tourists, I'm an avid traveler, and I've had really bad experiences with a lot of tours and excursions I've taken. So we wanted to talk to our customers or potential customers and see if that's a problem for them. So we spoke to over 100 tourists, and these are some of the problems they said they had. They said they had very few options, and many of them were not local, authentic options. They also said when they tried to find a local, there was no way of proving that this person was safe. And finally, most of their options were very expensive. So we also spoke to a lot of locals in the Caribbean. And many of them had the idea of actually taking tourists around. However, they had no way of offering their services to them. Some tried Facebook and Instagram unsuccessfully. So this is where our solution comes in. Wandr Yondr is a web and mobile platform that allows tourists to book numerous authentic local experiences with locals at destinations they're visiting. And this is an example of our platform. So what exactly do we offer? Well, for the tourists, we provide unique local experiences. This means you get to hike to that peak that no one else knows about and get the most Instagrammable photos and the most amazing views. Or you get to trek through a rainforest to a golden waterfall that not many people have seen. We also provide convenience. So many large companies, if you book with them, if they're international and your trip gets canceled, you actually could wait 15 hours or more before you hear back from them. That could mean a day is wasted of your trip. We'll provide local employees who can quickly resolve any of your issues and get you on your way. So we provide convenience. We also provide affordability, and we're going to guarantee safety. And for the locals, we're going to provide a platform where they can offer their services, and we can provide a source of additional income for them. So from our customer discovery, one thing we found was that everyone's major concern was safety, especially amongst women. So now we're going to address this. So initially, we're going to have extensive background checks for all of our hosts who sign up. We're going to have them submit tour plans, and we're going to review this. We're going to allow for reviews on our platform, so tourists can go on and rate these locals. We're also going to equip all new hosts with body cams, so we can actually monitor them on their first few tours. And we can also allow for messaging, so tourists can message locals and feel comfortable with them before they actually go on an experience. So what about our market? Our initial market will be the Caribbean. So in the Caribbean, there's more than 57 million arrivals annually. Now we're looking at the people who tend to go on tours and excursions, and that's people between the ages of 20 and 45, and that accounts for 33 million arrivals. Now we're looking even smaller group, the customers who really want these local authentic experiences, the ones who arrive on cruise ships, that takes us down to 8 million. That's our obtainable market share. So how are we going to make money? Well, our guides are going to post their experiences that they offer, and then a tourist is going to book these experiences, and they're going to pay us. We're going to take a 20% service fee, and after the guide has completed their experience, we're going to give the guide the 80% of that. And that's how we make money. So who are our competitors? Well, on the left, we have the companies whose secondary focus is on tours. And on the right, we have companies whose primary focus is on tours, including ourselves. Now on the bottom, we have companies who have limited and generic offerings. So these are like the normal tours you would get when you travel to the Caribbean. So they will take you to these tourist traps, and they tend to be expensive, and they don't really offer what they promise. Now at the top, we have ourselves and Airbnb, who offer numerous local and authentic experiences. Now we think our advantage over Airbnb is the fact that we're much smaller and focused on tours, and we have local employees everywhere to resolve the problems as they quickly arise. So we provide convenience to tourists, especially cruise tourists. Now, we believe Airbnb is going to be our major competitor. So we're going to take a closer look at this. They're currently in many markets all over the world. They're mostly focused in Europe, North America, and Asia. However, we think there's a lot of opportunity in the Caribbean, where they only have a couple islands that they offer their services. So we plan to make this our initial market. We think there's a lot of opportunity here. The founders have strong connections. We're from the Caribbean, and we already have people ready to sign up as guides on our platform. Once we've developed our platform and proven our concept, we intend to expand to other markets like Central America and to a larger market, Africa, which is mostly untapped by Airbnb. So now for some of our financial highlights. We expect to break even between year 2 and year 3. We also expect to be self-financing by May of 2022. And at this point, we could either repay our line of credit, or we can offer an exit strategy to our initial investors. We also expect a return on investment by September or October of 2022. So from our market analysis, what we found was this is what our tourists really wanted. These are the categories of tours and experiences they wanted. And we used this to calculate our expected sales. And then we did a sensitivity analysis. And we found that our model was very dynamic, and it was very sensitive to our sales. So we'll have to reforecast this quarterly. We're also asking investors for an initial startup cost of $244,200, and for a line of credit of $250,000 from a bank. So who's our team? Well, you have myself and Mardochee. We're both chemical engineering PhD students. We're both from the Caribbean with strong connections to our communities. And we have a very strong background in back-end, front-end, and design. We also have Gizem. She's a hotelier PhD with a lot of marketing experience and finance experience. We also have an intern who's helping us develop our platform for the beta. And we have some potential mentors we already reached out to. So where are we? We're currently working on developing our beta, and we expect to be completed by May of 2019. After that, we expect to launch in Grenada, my home, by June of 2019. So right now, we have over 100 guides ready to sign up in Grenada, and that's why we chose this market. Then we expect to fully launch in November of 2019 and start expansion by June of 2020. So how will we use this money? Well, we'll put a lot of this money towards completing our app for our beta in Grenada. We will also found that it's been less difficult to actually attract guides on our platform. However, as an unknown company, it's more difficult to actually attract tourists. So it's going to actually cost significant money. So we're going to put this money into customer acquisition by connecting to hotels and to cruise lines. And we're also going to use some of this money for branding. We are Wandr Yondr, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
I think certainly what you're doing there and the ability to offer employment to locals who are passionate about their country is great. And having taken many tours myself, that inside information from locals is always very valued. My question is, in looking at your financials, of the 100 tour guides, if they have 4 persons on a tour on average, it looks to me like your first year you're projecting 5,000 tours. And in order to break even, you would be at 7,500 tours. And then in the third year, I think you're looking at getting up to as much as 10,000 tours. Is that on the island of Grenada? And how do you view that expansion? And do you think that's an achievable number based on the number of tours, not on the financials?
You want me to
You guys
answer? So first year, we actually been a little bit conservative. So first month we put like 400 tours, so it corresponds to like 10 tours. And we put these units per person. So we assume that actually one unit is going to be a family. So if, so per person per unit. So we are likely to get a family of 5 people. That means we have already sold 5 units. So we don't think this as a whole family as one unit. So yes, we think it's achievable. That's because that's how we put it.
Right, well, that would be, what I was quoting were the number of tours with an average of 4 people per tour. So 5,000 tours is 20,000 units. And that's,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
So basically, if I may add something quickly here, the 100 tours, I'm sorry, the few 100 guides that are already ready to sign up now is just the initial number of people, right? Then we may be making a lot of investment to acquire more guides as well as more customers. And that's why we plan on making sure we can expand and increase the number of tours and offerings that we have on our platform to be able to meet those targets.
Part of your success is going to be from not only the format you're using and how you reach the public, but it's also going to be vetting the tour guides and making sure. Could you talk a little bit about how you were able to sign up 100 tour guides and the process that you used and how that process can be transferred to other locations as you scale the business?
Yeah, sure. So I'm from Grenada, and I grew up there, lived there for 17 years, have a lot of connections there. And I have a really strong connection with lawyers all around. And lawyers have the ability to do background checks really easily. And a lot of them are really happy to work on new projects. So we've been using their services just to do the background checks, you know, like go through court records and police stations, making sure that people who we asked to be guides were actually safe and reliable.
Have you gone through an interview process with these guides?
Yes. So initially I'd interview them for about 30 minutes. Just talking back and forth, talking about what they offer, as well as how they're going to make sure that they're safe. And then we got their information, and then we handed off to some of our lawyer friends who were able to do the background checks for us.
And did each of those guides submit to you a plan for the tour that they are proposing? And was that part of the selection process?
Yes. So it's only, I guess it's not only over 100, so it's not that many of them. So a lot of them some of them had offered similar tours. But yeah, pretty much if it was on the water, for some of them, we were like more hesitant, so we actually limited those because we wanted to make sure like they were safe, we could prove them. So of the locations and the offerings they promised, if we knew that, then we could accept it. So we're very cautious in what we accept at this moment.
Right, so we see safety as a big risk, especially at the beginning, because if just one thing goes wrong, then that can have a huge negative effect. So we are careful enough to not just push too forcefully to expand and do that at the cost of safety, right? We take the time to really vet every new guide. At the beginning, at least, make sure we do that right. We get it right every single time in order to make sure that we don't run into any problem at the beginning until our brand is strong enough that if something goes wrong, then we'll be able to manage that better. But at the beginning, that's like a no risk policy for us.
Go ahead.
One other question I had is it seems like you're going to be competing with other tours and some of the tours that are less interesting. How would you break through it? I'm sure that on the cruise ships, for example, if they book a tour through there, they get a cut or a slice, and so you're going to have to break through that, and you've highlighted that as one of your target markets.
Yeah. So the plan is to initially try to advertise in the rooms on cruise ships. So we'll be paying them money to advertise on the cruise ships and paying in hotels to advertise. We're also going to try to do local advertising at ports of entry as well as airports, So I think we're going to try to at least do it where people leave and when they arrive to try and actually attract them. And yeah, that's our plan. And as well as the internet, we're also going to be using like Instagram, Facebook, social media to try to attract and target certain customers.
And most of these guests are actually booking online, so there are reservation sites. So we will be targeting the reservation websites that they are using, and while they are doing reservations, so we would like to place ourselves and make sure that they see our brand over there, because they can also do some of the tourists actually like to plan everything beforehand, so they might be actually planning their excursion beforehand coming. So we want to give that option to them as well.
Have you developed a plan for B2B sales so that you become the vendor of choice for a cruise line? Because they make a fortune selling their selling their tours, as do the local hotels. So have you thought of where you'll provide, rather than consumer to tour guide, where you provide a group of tour guides and it's very well managed so that you'll be competing with people who are already in your market, who already have those relationships?
So that's something we've been considering. We've started reaching out to some of the boutique hotels, some of the smaller ones that don't really have many tour offerings. Some of them have shown a little bit of interest, but it's just something we're still working on, something we're still thinking about as the time goes along.
Who's going to hold the liability?
So the tour guide will hold a lot of the liability, similar to how the other sharing economy works.
Okay.
One of the benefits, which you didn't speak to, is that most of the tours that come off cruise lines are large operators that take a larger group of people, individuals on a bus. Have you thought about, you're essentially offering private tours?
Yes.
Yes. So, so I was just going to say that we see this in two different ways. One is our primary focus is not just on experience in general, but on unique and authentic experience. And the way we see that is by enriching people's lives with, after you come from an experience, you have a better idea of the local, history, local people, local traditions, local culture. So it's really, after that, you should feel connected better with the place that you just visited. And the second aspect of this is as an additional source of income to provide those type of private tours or experiences that you mentioned. So people can arrange things through us, but that will require us to invest more money, to have people more dedicated to serve these people. So we see this as an expansion plan.
But you're seeing these as individual tours, private tours, with a family in a car, that you're not conceiving of buses or...
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, as I read it, I was concerned that you hadn't addressed vehicles, like you're vetting the individual. And the second part of that is, does each individual tour guide set their own fees for their service?
Yes, so you said vehicles at first. So each tour guide has to have a vehicle, and they have to have a good driving record. So that's one thing we make sure about. And then we allow tour guides to set their fees, but we're also going to recommend certain fees that we think that they should charge for certain activities.
Also, going back to your previous question, so it's better to do this in small groups, in private groups, because in cruise lines, there's a big variety of age range. So there are, for example, a senior couple who have disabilities attend to a store with a millennial couple, it's likely that both of the couples will not get the highest benefit. So it's very important to find the right guide, the right match for the right type of customer also.
Thank you.